Donald Trump is panicking as Americans in the Middle East are scrambling, and there is no plan by United States embassies to evacuate them. The market is tanking. The price of oil is surging. Donald Trump has created an utter catastrophe. Let's go through piece by piece, evidence by evidence, what's going on right now this morning on Tuesday. So the U.S. Embassy issued this announcement. They're stating the U.S. Embassy of Jerusalem, that is not in a position at this time to evacuate or directly assist Americans in departing Israel. The following is provided for your information as you make your own security plans. So despite the United States spending billions of dollars on this embassy in Jerusalem and giving billions of dollars to Israel, the United States is unable to evacuate its own people. And you'll remember the message I showed you yesterday where the various U.S. embassies throughout the Middle East told everybody, evacuate now, get out of the Middle East, try to find a commercial flight. Good luck. Try to find a commercial flight. You do realize that Iran is now striking all of the surrounding airports in the Middle East. You do realize that Donald Trump has engulfed the Middle East in a Middle East-wide war with no plan about what the missions or objectives are. And then last night or yesterday afternoon, Donald Trump and his regime officials and sycophants, whether it was Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, or whether it was MAGA Mike Johnson, they're saying the reason that we had to invade and attack Iran is that Israel was going to attack Iran first, and then Iran would retaliate against the United States. That's why we had to attack Iran to do regime change, but it's not regime change now. They're trying to find someone in the Islamic Republic who would be friendlier to Donald Trump. And meanwhile, there's nobody who wants to have that role. I mean, turned the Ayatollah, who is 85 years old, who was unpopular in a lot of areas, like they allowed him to, become like a martyr now amongst the Shiite community, who's out there, chanting death to America right now at these mass protests. I mean, this utterly backfired. They didn't think this through. The Ayatollah was old anyway. The younger population was, growing and protesting and saying they wanted democracy. And then the Trump regime betrayed those protesters early in January when they were out on the street, and Trump says, I've got your back, and then didn't do anything. And 30,000, 40,000 protesters got massacred. So of course they're terrified to go out right now and protest or do things. Just take a look at what's going on throughout the Middle East as the United States tells its own citizens, good luck. We wish you the best. Try to find a commercial airport somewhere, but we can't help you. Thick black smoke is pouring on Tuesday from the port of Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates, located on the Gulf of Oman, as one of the UAE's only oil terminals south of the Strait of Hormuz, following a drone attack this morning on oil storage tanks. And other infrastructure at the port of Iran by Iran is blown up. I mean, take a look at it. We'll show you video right here of an Iranian one-way attack drone slamming into the port of Duqm in Oman this morning as Iran continues to launch both drones and missiles at the Gulf nations and countries across the Middle East. Here's more photos of the Salalah port in the Omani Dhofar Governorate. You can see these economic areas being hit by Iran in retaliation for the U.S. strikes. Take a look right here. Israel is now evacuating its embassy staff from the UAE, including Dubai and Abu Dhabi, back to Israel. They did that in a special operation. More Israel strikes, of course, in Iran. What we learned took place earlier today. The building housing Iran's assembly of experts in Qom was entirely destroyed by several strikes from the Israeli Air Force, with senior Israeli officials stating that the target was a meeting of the Iranian Supreme Council, where government and religious leaders were gathering to choose a new supreme leader today. Israel struck while they were counting the votes for the appointment of a new supreme leader. So Israel and the United States killed the Ayatollah, and now there was this meeting, what's called the Assembly of the Experts, in the city of Qom in Iran. And while that meeting was taking place and you had this assembly of experts, this council of about 90 senior clerics, which was going to be electing Iran's new supreme leader, Israel and the United States struck the building where the counting of those votes were happening. And I suppose the plan by the United States and Israel, although I wouldn't call it a plan, is what? Just to kind of kill everybody. And if you kill everybody, then you think that there will be sympathy in the population. I just think it's important to note that, we all should agree. I think that the Ayatollah was terroristic, despicable, you name it. What a horrible and repressive regime. We also have to remember the Ayatollah, though, was a spiritual leader for 300 million plus Shiites in the region. And now in areas actually where the Ayatollah was unpopular, now there's support and radicalization against, even more so against the United States right now as a result of everything that's unfolded. As I mentioned at the outset of this video, gas prices, oil prices are surging. The national average price of gasoline yesterday saw its largest single-day rise since March 4th, 2022. Rising 12 cents a gallon. We know that with Iran severely limiting, if not closing at some points, the Strait of Hormuz, that is impacting the ability to get oil, to get the crude, to get the liquefied natural gas that is out of the region. It's actually been a huge help to Russia, because the Russia oil, Russia crude, Russia is now in higher demand. So Russia, which was struggling economically, is actually benefiting from this. I've seen people say it's like Putin, said to Donald Trump, hey, you know what would be really helpful as we're financially struggling here? Can you do this for us as well? That would be fantastic. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, says, I can't stand all of this winning. Look, the market this morning opened up horrifically. You basically had all the indexes down about 2%. Of course, that will fluctuate throughout the day and before and after I do this video. So I don't want to specifically say it's this number or that number, but at some points, the various indexes were down close to 2.5%. And those markets were tanking at least earlier in the day. Again, all different nations are being drawn into this. France has deployed its fighter jets over the United Arab Emirates to protect its naval and air bases against Iranian attacks, but it will not be sending, as of now, the Charles de Gaulle aircraft carrier to assist. It's trying to just keep a defensive posture. Oil production has been fully suspended at the Ramallah oil field near Basra City, Iraq's largest and the world's second largest oil field, citing high capacity of storage tanks at southern ports due to the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Security alerts being issued by the U.S. Embassy in Saudi Arabia moments ago. Security alert, threat of imminent missile UAV attacks over the area. This threat is imminent. Take cover immediately in your residence on the lowest available floor and away from windows. Do not go outside. I think it's important to recognize too, one, what the people in the Middle East are going through, and also the fact that America had a lot of citizens and a lot of people abroad in this area with no plan to evacuate, to help, to extract them, and with all of the Doge destruction of the State Department. By the way, we didn't even have ambassadors to a lot of these countries in the Middle East because the Trump regime's whole reason for existence is destroying the government. So the State Department's gutted. Our ability to evacuate people, is completely gutted. We've attacked we've attacked our allies. So we have no one who really wants to help us right now. It's a big, big problem right now. Iraq is suspending oil shipments through the main pipeline linking the Kurdistan region to Turkey. Bloomberg's reporting that. Give you some additional information. While all of this is taking place, Donald Trump says, I guess what our plan should be is maybe we will support militia groups and maybe Kurdish factions in northwestern Iran. Maybe they can help us and act as ground forces to attack the Islamic Republic so America doesn't send boots on the ground. Officials say that Trump has not made a final decision on this about whether he would provide arms, training, or intelligence support to anti-regime groups, although he keeps on telling the people of Iran, rise up, take over. It's yours now. Take over Iran. Well, when you said that to them last month or in January, you didn't help them. And thousands, tens of thousands, 30,000, maybe more Iranians were massacred listening to you when you betrayed them. And by the way, you also have betrayed the Kurds. You've repeatedly betrayed the Kurds. I don't know how any Kurdish group can trust a word of what Donald Trump says. He'll throw them under the bus in a moment and just wants to throw them into the meat grinder. I just found this fascinating too yesterday. I won't play the video again. I showed it in an earlier video. Even when Donald Trump was trying to do this event for veterans and give out the Medal of Honor awards, if you just take a look at the neck ribbon, we can't even get the neck ribbon right. Donald Trump struggled to put the Medal of Honor on the recipient, and the neck ribbon was like choking the guy like a collar. Like this, they can't even get the size of the neck ribbon for the Medal of Honor correctly. They do everything, like quite literally everything wrong. On Capitol Hill today, you have Kristi Noem is testifying, and she's doing horrible. And on a bipartisan basis, she's getting grilled. Department of Homeland Security Secretary who runs the ICE and Border Patrol Gestapo. Check back in a little bit. I'll do a whole video on the Kristi Noem hearing. But I want to focus on another hearing right now, which is you have the Undersecretary of Defense, Elbridge Colby is the guy's name. And he's testifying before the Senate. And there was this great questioning by Senator Warren, who was cross-examining Colby in the Trump in the Trump administration, and she's saying, "Okay, well, you claim that you're not for interventionism, you're not for endless war, but Marco Rubio and everybody in your regime is saying we intervened in Iran for regime change because Israel was going to strike Iran. Isn't that interventionism? That's what we do." I want you to watch as this Elbridge Colby guy, who's like the number 2 at the Defense Department. He's basically the right hand of Pete Hegseth. Watch him squirm under this cross-exam by Elizabeth Warren. Let's play this clip.
So you think America first means starting a war anywhere, anytime? You know, I'm confused because you're here to discuss the Trump administration's national defense strategy. And I'll quote it back to you. No longer will the department be distracted by interventionism, endless wars, regime change, and nation building. Close quote. Interventionism, that means going to another country and bombing them. Endless wars, wars that may last, we don't know how long because there's no clear end point. Regime change, which the president has said this is all about, and nation building. Evidently, the president seems to think he's going to come in and build a different Iran. Now, is that
Senator,
putting America first and following your own foreign
I think I would
policy
characterize
objectives?
it fundamentally differently. The defense strategy does talk about the threat posed by Iran and the need to have credible military options. And I don't think this is, as we understand from him and in the goals of the military campaign, this is certainly not nation building. This is not going to be endless, as the president.
So this is not, in your mind, interventionism?
I don't think this is. No, I don't think that's what that nation building, endless wars. That's definitely not.
That's actually the very first word in the Department of Defense.
Interventionism is a more, I would say, kind of responsibility to protect or something. It's obviously not.
Really? And we didn't do
defined.
this in order to try to protect Israel?
I think that, that's one of the goals. It's obviously we're serving our own interests.
So it is interventionism. And how about the endless war part?
Well, I don't think this is going to be an endless
Is there a clear goal that we will know when this is over?
Well, the president's going to decide exactly how we do it. The military campaigns have clearly defined
Okay, and the regime change part, remind me about that. The president, of course, has called it regime change. Do you disagree with him?
No, I think the president has said that this is an opportunity for the people of Iran to rise up and overthrow their oppressors. But as he indicated, the Venezuela model could be one the other day.
Does that sound like regime change?
I think the goals of the military, obviously, allowing the Iranian people to take this matter into their own hands is one of the options here. But the American military campaign is got more
so that's
scoped
great.
goals,
So the Trump
and it's not an endless war.
administration first says it's going to be America first, then puts out a national defense strategy, and then goes to war alongside Israel illegally, unconstitutionally. And that is now the policy of the Trump administration. Say one thing in a campaign, write it down on paper, and then go do whatever the hell you want.
The time
That
of
is
the
wrong.
senator has.
Some other grim news to report as well. We now know that there's about 140 people who were killed in the strike at the Manab Girls' School in Iran. Remember, that number was going up, and I had said it was going to be over 100 or so. 140 people killed. 110 were students. As it was a little girls, it was a girls' school and boys as well. 66 boys, 54 girls. All 26 female teachers at the school were killed. 4 parents of these students were also among the dead. The strike is the deadliest single incident reported in the current U.S.-Israeli bombing campaign, and no one in the Trump regime even acknowledges it or says sorry or says that was a mistake. There's just nothing. There's no humanity in any of this. Also, with those 6 U.S. service members who were killed in Kuwait. One of the things that we've also talked about is that, and CBS is reporting, prior to the attack, there were discussions on the ground about whether the Tactical Operations Center should not even be used, as it concentrated too many troops in a location that wasn't defensible. And this was raised through the chain of command, and it was ignored. It was ignored, and that's what resulted in the death of our soldiers. It could have actually been avoided. So we'll keep you posted throughout the day. It's everything that's going on right now there. Hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers, and thanks for watching.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MidasPlus.com.